This may look like a normal old iPod Touch 4, but switching it on, there's something very unusual about it. It's running iOS 7. This shouldn't be possible, yet it is. You see, the iPod Touch 4 only ever supported iOS 4 through 6, yet it has almost the same hardware as the iPhone 4, albeit with half the RAM. Should the iPod 4 have received iOS 7, or did Apple make the right call in locking it into iOS 6? I have here a standard base model 8GB iPod 4 running iOS 6.1.6. Let me show you how to get iOS 7 running on the 4th generation iPod, and then we can see how it runs. To understand why this is so crazy, you have to understand how iOS is installed on an Apple device. While you can install almost any OS version you like on a computer if it's physically compatible, phones and tablets typically require signed software, meaning it must be issued by the manufacturer. Apple takes this a step further by also requiring a server to authenticate the install. This allows them to prevent the installation of older software, custom or alternative operating systems. However, it works on this device because of an exploit to the bootloader, allowing us to boot iPhone 4 firmware, which is similar enough to the iPod 4 that it works. To upgrade the iPod, we only need one piece of command line software, Legacy iOS Kit, which can be downloaded from GitHub. I'll open a terminal and change directories into the newly downloaded folder. Then typing /restore.sh and pressing enter will run the tool. This command line tool can do many things with older iOS devices, but what we're interested in is the restore and downgrade option. With the iPod connected, it will show us relevant options. We'll select the iOS 7.1.2 option. We now have to download the iPhone 4 CDMA iOS 7.1.2 IPSW and the stock iPod 4 iOS 6.1.6 IPSW. Once downloaded, they can be selected in the tool, after which we can start the restore, which requires us to put the device in DFU mode first. The Legacy iOS Kit will now take care of the rest. It goes without saying this wipes the iPod storage, and you should use this tool at your own risk. One strange thing during the installation is it's referencing someone else's iMac file system in the logs. I don't know what's up with that. It's now showing the iOS 6 restore screen for now. The process took about 20 minutes before the device rebooted into recovery mode. Believe it or not, that means it actually worked. Well, at least I hope so. Because the iOS software isn't signed, it won't boot without the help of a command line tool. Back in the terminal window, we can now select the Just Boot option after placing the device into DFU again. Now it will boot up into the OS. Once we begin to see the verbose log, we know the install was a success. The device is now displaying the iOS 7 boot logo. And we're in. The setup process has been removed, so it just boots to the lock screen. The first obvious thing is this iPod now has a phone app. This is because it now thinks it's an iPhone 4. After all, that's the software we've just installed on it. It's also why there's no setup app. This is because the device cannot be activated on Apple servers, because not only does this iPod now think it's an iPhone 4, but Apple servers don't understand why this iPhone 4 lacks an IMEI number and has the wrong model number. And while it adds the phone app, this doesn't secretly unlock the iPod into becoming a phone, as it doesn't have any of the modem hardware, so the app doesn't do anything. There's plenty of references to iPhone and iPhone-specific features in various places, from the Spotlight search, the device name, or even the cellular and phone preferences in the Settings app, along with the flashlight toggle. While it does run quite well considering just how little RAM it has, there are some bugs with running iPhone 4 software on the iPod. For starters, Wi-Fi is a bit spotty and needs to be toggled on and off regularly to discover and reconnect to networks, but it does work. The battery always displays at 100% because iOS is expecting a battery level output from the battery, which the iPod doesn't have, causing it not to charge when booted. There's no sound outside of AirPlay devices, meaning the volume slider is missing from Control Center. There's no rotation support, no cameras, and no Bluetooth. With the exception of the sound issue, I think I could live without the rest. Mixing files from the original iPod install, or maybe even a later iPod Touch, may possibly get some of these functions working again, though some things are unfixable due to activation. Because we can't activate the device, it can't be synced with iTunes, and I wasn't able to get the App Store or iTunes Store working, meaning the only way you can get apps is by sideloading them or using jailbreak tweaks. iCloud services also don't work, throwing a device not supported error, which is something I've never seen before. The error linking to a mobile me page, the precursor to iCloud, long since dead. Messing around with plist files in the system, I changed the system version plist from iPhone OS to iPod OS, which seems to have resolved the issue. However, there's still a connection error to the server. To make the device feel more like an iPod again, we can use some jailbreak tools. We can change the carrier name to display iPod, which will also remove the searching text in the menu bar. Also deleting irrelevant apps from the system, including the mobile phone and Compass app, which will require a reboot to fully remove. Which brings me to another flaw of this modification. This is an untethered upgrade, which means a computer is required to boot the device. So even if you get a flat battery, you have to plug the device into a computer and use the command line tool again to boot it up. But how does it run? With only 256 megabytes of RAM, it's amazing it runs at all. I'm surprised it feels like an iPhone 4, which in a stock configuration ran alright, but once you start opening up web pages or multiple apps, it starts slowing down. While in 2013 not getting the iOS 7 upgrade may have been a disappointment, I think it was the right call, because iOS 7 was notably sluggish on the iPhone 4, and once you updated, Apple doesn't allow you to go back. Had a downgrade path been officially supported, then yes, this update would have been nice, but knowing how Apple devices work, this would never happen. The LCD may also be a contributing factor, as under the older UI design, it's hard to tell the display inverts colors when looked at a severe angle. But under iOS 7's bright, bold colors, it's very obvious, because it breaks the illusion found in older iOS versions that minimize this flaw. The darker interface and UI elements make these displays look more superior than they really are. Apple is very meticulous about minor details, so I think this would have been the biggest reason, even more so than RAM size. As an end user, imagine updating and feeling as though your display got a downgrade. That wouldn't have gone over well for Apple. Still, despite the drawbacks, it's amazing the iOS community came together to make this possible. And it's not the only device. iOS 6 has been made to run on the 3rd generation iPod, and iOS 7 on the 1st generation iPad, although presently not running as well as it does on this iPod. This method has been around for a number of years, so I was hoping in that time someone would have fixed some of these issues. And that's the case with a lot of these custom firmwares. A lot of them end up getting as far as a proof of concept, but are never fully developed. I can't imagine the time and effort that's been put into them to get them as far as they do, but it's a shame that they're rarely ever finished. This includes projects like Android on the iPhone, which had very similar issues, like that of sound. And on that note, this has been a Hugh Jeffries video. If you like what you saw, consider subscribing and check out the custom tech playlist for more videos just like this one. And if you're looking for any used devices, be sure to check out my online store, link for which is down in the description. That's all for this video, and I'll catch you guys next time.